What's going on, YouTube? Welcome back to another how-to. So if you've seen my thumbnail, you probably have seen this kit before and second guessing on whether you want to get it or not and if it works with your e-bike or not. So I'm here to help you out and make it a little easier on you, because there's a ton of wires and it looks complicated, but it's definitely not. And this system solely runs off a 48 volt battery. Today I'm going to be using my 72 volt Electro & Co battery. I know I said I was going to have a battery video up next, but don't worry, stay tuned, it is coming. But for now, let's check out this light kit and get it all hooked up. So first of all, we got your controller here. You're going to have your lights, your horn, and your blinkers. And you got a 3-pin and a 2-pin. And then we got your brake lights, which is going to have turn signal, running light, and brake light. And then you have 3 2-pins. Luckily 2 of these are color coded, so that'll be pretty easy. This yellow one is going to plug into the controller's 2-pin. We'll get to that in just a second. And of course, the easiest one, we got our headlight, and that has a 3-pin, and these ones will match up with the 3-pin that is on the harness. So putting all that aside, first of all, we have our harness, and this thing is a big old mess. But basically you're gonna have 2 sides. This side, you're gonna have off the green 2 blacks that come to this connector here, and then this connector on the end, and you're going to have it similarly match on this one, so there should be 2 of them. I've already cut it up and tested it to make sure it works for your brake lights, so we won't worry about those for right now. Let's get all this out of the way. So first of all, start with our green. It's going to go to our headlight, so green to green matches. Plug that in. Oop, maybe. All right, and now we got a blue one, so we're gonna go to back to our harness, and we're gonna plug in blue. Easy enough. So we almost have the brake light all hooked up. So last we got a yellow. So with this yellow one, we're gonna go to the actual handlebar controller itself, and we're gonna plug in this lone 2-pin. Plug that bad boy in. This is Chinese, so I mean, depending on what you get, you could be having different colors, it could be mismatch, I'm not sure, but as long as you follow this, it should be pretty easy. Alright, so now on the controller we have one last 3-pin, and then on the harness we're gonna have 2 more 3-pins. So this one right here is gonna have 4 wires going into it. And then this one right here is going to have 3 wires going to it. So you want to take the one with the 4 wires running into it and match that with your controller. And then that's going to leave us with the white one, which is main power. So this will come off and connect to your battery. So we don't have to worry about that one. And then we got our 2 brake sensors. We don't have to worry about those. And then the last, and finally, we're going to have our headlight, which is that last 3-pin. So we're going to plug that in, plug it in the right way, and we are all set. So main power, and then everything, all the accessories are plugged in. So that is out of sight, out of mind. And now we're going to go into our brake sensors. Now these confuse the hell out of me. I believe it's meant for a controller that actually works with it, but basically it wants you to plug this end into a controller for a ground, because these 2 black wires are actually power wires, and it's grounded off by the controller, and then it sends a signal all the way up to, this would connect to your brake lines, which mine on the Mototech is one of these connectors. So I just snipped this off the old controller for the e-stops. Basically when you press your brakes, it will shut the motor off. I wasn't using those, never gonna use those, So I cut these connectors off since they do connect to my stock brakes. And what I'm going to be doing is using these to plug into these guys. As you can see, I already got it started here. So basically all we need to do now is connect one side in, and then, I mean, you can cut it right here at the black and it doesn't matter. I actually took the end of the other one and I cut this off, and I put some extra wire on the end of it, and then I put some loop connectors on, just like so. So here's the end, extra wire, and then I have my connectors at the end, and that's actually what's gonna screw into my controller for power. I'll show you that later. And then this end right here is gonna connect right into here. That way we have main power to the whole harness itself. So go ahead and just snip those off. You don't need them. One of them, I mean, you could just snip it right here at the black wire. I'm just going to keep it like this just for a little bit of length. So basically this red wire is nothing at the moment. So basically just take your two black wires, ignoring your reds, connect one side to whatever your brake plug is. I mean, whatever you got, just one wire on one side. And then what we're going to be doing is we're going to go to the main power switch, or the main power plug, and we're going to splice into one of these grounds here. Again, I already did that before, so I do already have it cut. So basically I'm just going to snip that, and I'm going to attach this to it, and then from there we plug it into main power, plug in our brakes, and give it a squeeze, and it should light up for you. So I've been doing this pretty sketchy, but let me get this all set up and I'll show you what I've done. Alright guys, so for testing purposes I have a couple plastic coated paper clips that I'm going to be plugging into the main power. But first, so here is one of our brake connectors, one side right here. Again, ignoring the reds, we're just using one black wire. That one black wire is connected to one side of our brake connector, and then our empty side, we're going to go to our main power, and we're going to tap into one of the blacks for ground. Now, right now, I'm just going to twist it on here. Later, I'm going to use some butt connectors, some of those, what are they called? Heat shrink connectors to keep them watertight. Alright, so got our black connected into one side, and then we've got our other side connected into the main connector's ground. And this wire right here, I got the bike sitting right next to me. This is the connector off of my brake. So I will plug this in. And again, this is all pretty sketchy, so I don't recommend doing this. I'm doing it all for you, so all you have to do is follow me. So here we go. Plug it in. Go to our control, and we can see everything is on. And then I'm going to reach up here out of angle, and let's see. I'll show you how to squeeze the brake real quick, and we have brake lights. Cool deal. So as long as you follow this, you shouldn't have to be doing anything sketchy like me. Make sure all your butt connectors are tight. You know, wrap it in electric tape, solder it if you want to. I'm just going to be using heat shrink and butt connectors that shrink as well, so it'll be super easy on my end. And so let me get this all set up, and I'll start from a fresh side and show you step by step. So coming off my brake, I have my power coming from the green connector with the two black wires that I mentioned earlier, and then my other side is spliced in between the ground on the main power. Again, check out the brake over there, working just fine. So we're going to unplug that, get rid of our sketchy jumpers. I'm going to unplug this, and now we're going to get our second one set up. So for the sake of simplicity, what I'm going to do is just cut the black one. We don't need all this other stuff. So I'll get my wire snips, and let's take our black, and we'll give ourselves plenty of room snip it off just like that. And I believe these are 22 gauge. So we'll go all the way to, oh, let's see, I'm pretty blind over here. So all the way to our littlest one. And we're gonna strip ourselves a little bit, probably give myself a little bit more. All right, so now we got our black ready, and then we're gonna grab our connector that we stole off of our, let's see if you can see that. This is the connector that I stole off of the controller. So what I'm gonna do is unpin these real quick. If you don't know that, you just grab one of those tiny little eyeglass screwdrivers, you stick it in there, release the tab, and you pull it out. And then I'm going to cut one side off and just leave these two for myself. Let me do that and we'll get right back. So this is the screwdriver I used, and here it is unpinned. So if you look, I don't know if my camera's going to be able to pick that up. But if you look on the little connector, there's a little tab hanging out the back. And basically what you want to do is you take your screwdriver and you put it in the little slot up top, push down. It's going to push that pin in, and then it'll pop right out. So once you do that, you do want to make sure you pull that pin back out a little bit. That way once you pop it back in, it doesn't just fall right out. So right now I'm just going to snip off the short sides, and then I'm going to plug it back in, and then we'll get back to our harness and we'll get it all squared away. All right, now that our connector is nice and ready, got it stripped out and chopped up. We're going to go to our black wire, one of our black wires, the one that we're ready for. And what we're going to do is grab our butt connectors and we're going to connect them together. And then we'll work on going to the next side. All right, butt connectors in. It is not pretty. I'm using a lighter to melt it, but it is nice and strong. It ain't going nowhere. So, all right, now that we got that done, we got one left to go. And since I already used the ground on this side, I'm going to snip the other side, and then we will attach that right in between. Now you can use a vampire clip if you want. I'm not a big fan of those. They like to come loose. They don't connect very well, and these are like 22 gauge, so they're super thin, not a lot of strands. Even the butt connector is a little iffy. If you can, I'd probably solder them. So I'm just going to snip this up, attach this to here, and basically we're good to go from there. I just got to plug in both of my brake lines, and then figure out, how I'm going to mount the back brake. Luckily with the subframe I'm done. It's going to be pretty easy. Mount this right here. I got to pull off the grip and put this on, and we'll be rolling with a nice little light kit. And I will be running on 72 volt, so stay tuned. I'll let you know if all my wires melt and I burn the garage down. But I mean, I've left it on here for about 15-20 minutes and the wires don't get hot, runs nice and smooth. I pulled the LEDs out of here and I used my multi-gauge and just started touching the LED connections on the motherboard, whatever you want to call it. And it's running full voltage, so it should be good to go. All right, so let's get into this. It's always fun clipping into perfectly good wires. Snip that in half. Oh, strip those bad boys. Let's get this one. All right, and we are stripped. Now I do like to just keep these two together since they're so thin. And then I'll just keep these ones on one side, and then I'll take my connector and butt connect it on the other side. That way it'll make it a little bit stronger instead of just having just one of these guys in the side of the butt connector. So we'll get another butt connector on and then I'll come right back. Cool deal. We are all wired up. I got both of my brake lines ready to go. Again, just running off that black wire. I did come up and clean this one, and I just snipped this completely off. So all we're using is the 2 black wires that comes off of the green connector, and then they go into our brake connectors, back out, and then both of them are just wired into our ground off of our main power. So hopefully y'all understand that. I know it's kind of a pain in the butt with this huge mess right here, but like I said, once you get all the accessories done, you're only left with just this little bit, and it makes it a lot simple. Once you get it in your hands, it's going to make it a lot less complicated. So what I'm going to do now is I have some protective wire wrap. This is the 1/4 inch. I actually have some 3/8 over there as well, and I'm going to clean this up. I'll get a little hyperlapse, and then we'll end the video. So here we have it all cleaned up, somewhat clean I guess, and we got it plugged in. See the brake light down over there, my hand's kind of covering up, and it's still working great. So what I'm going to do is leave this as a part 1, and in the next video we'll be mounting it up to my Mototech, just in case you came here just to check out this light kit and you don't have a Mototech. So we'll keep that separate for all my Mototech peeps. Stay tuned for part 2. It is coming, and after that we'll get this 72-volt battery in, and I'll show you how I stuffed it in here, and I'll give you dimensions. That way you can scope it out and get yourself ordered a nice big battery. Preferably I'd go with Electro & Co. But until then guys, peace.